Hi, I'm David,
I'm Simeon.
and we are D
S.
Pokemon.
Com.
We are here to show you how to play Pokemon. We're just beginners ourselves, but we hope that since we just learned, it will help us to explain it to you if you're new. So, in our previous episode, we talked about the easiest starting point for a deck, and that is to get a theme deck. The theme deck will have the assortment of cards that you need to get started. The starting point for me was this Luminous Frost theme deck. The Luminous Frost theme deck features the Alola Ninetales, and you'll notice that my cards are inside of sleeves, and that helps to keep them protected. What did you start off with, Simeon?
The rock one.
You started with the Rocksteady.
I started with the rock steady fighting energy, and my sleeves are they are in sleeves too.
So now that you have your deck, you are ready to play an actual game. Pokemon TCG battles have what I like to think of as two phases. The first phase is the setup. This involves getting your cards and setting up the mat in order to play. And then the second phase is the actual battle. The mat is a great place to start since it shows the placement of the cards and it has a really handy reference. So we recommend you start with that. That's how we started. And then after a while, a lot of that will be committed to memory and you won't need it as much. During the setup phase, players start by giving their cards a really good shuffle. A quick word on shuffling, which the more you play, the more you realize how important it becomes. There are several different approaches. What you've probably seen a lot of is riffle shuffling. Riffle shuffling is technically the best way to randomize your deck, but you probably, if you've tried, know that it involves a lot of dexterity, and younger children may have a hard time with it. As an alternative, pile shuffling works really good. Simeon can demonstrate this. He starts off by arranging his cards into a series of 12 piles, 6 on top and 6 on the bottom, and then he just places the cards sequentially across those different piles. At the end of that placement, he merges those all into a single deck. Pile shuffling is really easy for kids, and that's one that I recommend that you start with. It also is a really good way of having some randomization. It's not as good as riffle shuffling, but it will get the job done. Another approach is what we call mash shuffling. Mash shuffling is another technique. It involves merging your deck when you split it into two, and then if they're sleeved, then it naturally merges together. So once you've got that good shuffle, then each player is going to take 7 cards for their initial hand. These are the cards that they're going to start their gameplay with. Look inside of your hand to see if you have any basic Pokemon that you want to start with. Each card is clearly marked as basic on the top left. We will talk about evolutions and some of the other types of cards as we play the game. If you are unable to select a basic Pokemon from your hand, that's called a mulligan. And in that scenario, you show your opponent your hand that doesn't have any Pokemon, and then you shuffle those cards back into your deck, and you repeat the process of selecting a new hand. For each mulligan, your opponent is able to draw an extra card for their initial hand. If you are done and you've selected a Pokemon for your active Pokemon, the Pokemon that you're starting with, then you take the next 6 cards and these will be your prize cards. Each time you defeat a Pokemon, you collect prize cards. You'll notice on the map there is a spot for the Pokemon you want to start with. This is called the active Pokemon. There's also another section called the bench. On the bench is where you place your additional Pokemon that you want to include in the battle. There's a spot on the mat as well for your deck. This is where you're going to be drawing your cards from. And then finally, there is the discard pile. And this is where used cards go. You'll get a good feel for placement and for how to use the mat as we walk you through this initial battle. You notice all the cards are face down. Prize cards remain face down until they are won by defeating an opponent's active Pokemon. The active Pokemon we've picked are also face down. We wait to turn those cards over once we know who's going first. There are several ways to determine who is going first. One way is a coin flip. In our first video, I talked about why a lot of kids use alternatives, mainly because the coordination involved in flipping a coin is beyond most kids. A second way is to simulate a coin flip by rolling dice. One person rolls the dice and the other person calls heads or tails. In this case, even is heads and odd is tails. So 2, 4, and 6 would be considered heads. 1, 3, and 5 would be considered tails. It's a 50-50 chance, just like flipping a coin. The final way is to each roll a die and have the winner be the person with the highest number. In Pokemon, winning this game of chance does not mean you get to go first. It means you get to pick who goes first, and that's important because whoever goes first cannot attack on that turn.
This guy is more life than me.
Simeon starts the game with the Houndour Pokemon. It's a basic Pokemon. Every card that's basic, you can see, is indicated as basic. This is his starting active Pokemon. I have started the game with the Electabuzz Pokemon. It's a basic, which is indicated on the top left. Dice play an important part of the game. As described before, dice can replace the coin flip. Dice are also used as damage counters instead of the cardboard chips that come with the theme decks. Many Pokemon products come with dice. The larger die simulates the coin flip, and the smaller ones are used to track damage. So, you want me to go first? I'm going to draw a card. The very first thing with every turn, draw a card. And then I'm going to attach energy. And then it's your turn. Go ahead. With my first turn, I attach an energy to the Electabuzz Pokemon. More on energy later, but at this point I have no other options. Remember, Simeon won the coin flip and made me go first, so I cannot attack. I gestured to him that I have ended my turn.
Ooh, I got my cubes. Attach energy.
One of the central concepts in Pokemon is the idea that our Pokemon get powered up by energy cards. Energy cards are indicated as such. Energy on the top left, and you'll notice that there's different colors for the energy. On Simeon's Pokemon, this is dark energy. For the active Pokemon that I've selected, Electabuzz, then you can see that it uses lightning energy. Each turn, you can attach a single energy to a Pokemon. The Pokemon can be your active Pokemon or on your bench. You'll notice that between the two cards, there is this circle with the star in the center. It's the same on the Houndour and on the Electabuzz. This is colorless, and that means that I could use any type of energy for that second energy related to the attack. These are the attacks that the Pokemon does. We'll get to those when we begin our attacking process. A few more details about energy. If you look at the bottom of the card, there is an indicator describing retreat. If we look at my Electabuzz, for example, there are two energy markers next to the retreat label. This is the retreat cost, or how much energy must go from this Pokemon to the discard pile in order to remove it as the active Pokemon. Simeon's Houndour has a single energy as the retreat cost. In a future video, we will discuss some of the strategy behind playing specific cards, but for now, just remember that under normal circumstances, to retreat a Pokemon, you need to discard energy based on the retreat cost.
Okay. What does this let you do?
Okay, so that is Sophocles, and it says discard 2 cards from your hand, and then if you do, you can draw 4 cards. Do you want to discard 2 cards?
Yeah, I'll discard these 2 and draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, did you put that trainer in your discard pile?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I will play Nest Ball.
Nest ball, okay.
Search for a basic. Search for this guy again.
Okay. There are different kinds of trainer cards that you will have inside of your deck. I've selected a few of the more straightforward trainer cards. Sophocles, which Simeon just used, you'll notice on the top right is indicated as a supporter card. Supporter cards are characters who can help you with certain operations. This is another supporter card, Hao, and he enables the Pokemon trainer to draw 3 cards. Below we have trainer cards. Notice at the top these are item cards. So these are utilities as well. This nest ball allows you to search your deck for a basic Pokemon. We've got the switch trainer card to allow you to switch active and benched Pokemon. You'll see some of that later on. And we have the escape rope, which is another switch between the active and benched Pokemon, except it applies to you and to your opponent. An important thing to note is that you may only play one supporter per turn. So you only can use one of these supporter cards. However, you can use multiple item cards. So that's something to remember.
And I will attack.
Okay, you're gonna do the attack for 10 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I will put the damage counter on there. Simeon finishes off his turn by doing the rear kick attack. You'll notice that it requires 1 energy, and since he's attached a single energy to this Pokemon, he's able to do that. It tells us how much damage is done. It does 10 damage. And so on my Pokemon, I attach a damage counter. Because I have taken 10 damage, I now do some basic arithmetic. Since he has 80 hit points, which is the amount of life that he has, I subtract 10, and my Pokemon now has 70 life associated with it. Okay, it's my turn. Okay. I am going to attach another energy. And then I'm going to do ambush.
20 damage?
20 damage, and it says if I flip a coin, if I get heads, then I do 20 more damage. So I'm going to flip a coin. It's an odd number, so that's tails. So not only 20 damage. With this turn, Simeon evolves the Dino Pokemon that is on his bench. The Dino becomes a Zweilous. He was able to do this because he has had the Dino on his bench, the area below the active Pokemon, for at least one turn. Evolution is a core concept in the Pokemon TCG. Basic Pokemon, once evolved, become stronger and their attacks are much more capable. By evolving the Dino to a Zweilous, you will notice that his hit points or life associated with the Pokemon go from 70 to 90. The attacks of this Pokemon are now also much stronger. In fact, his strongest attack can now peak at 120 damage. You can check on the evolution line in the Stage 1 card. The text is small, but if you look at the top left corner, it will tell you what basic Pokemon is required for this Stage 1. Remember that Electabuzz that I was playing with? The Stage 1 evolution is the Electivire. This Pokemon is strong and can do some serious damage, but the catch is that I have to get there. It's still in my deck during this particular game. Pokemon can evolve from Stage 1 to Stage 2. This Shanks Pokemon can evolve to Luxio at Stage 1 and then become Luxray at Stage 2. The Stage 1 card, the Stage 2 card will indicate the Stage 1 it evolves from on the top left.
And 20 more damage?
20 more damage, okay. 30 damage. I'll draw a card. I can have one I can put on my bench. And I will attach energy into the Helioptile.
Helioptile?
And then I'm gonna attack you with this attack, and I'll roll a die to see if I get heads, and it will do 20 more damage. I got heads, so that does 40 damage.
2 plus 4, no.
60 damage, so he gets knocked out. Go ahead and put him on here. And then I will take a prize card. Take a prize card. I've ended my turn with the ambush attack of Electabuzz. Since I successfully roll a heads, which is an even number, this attack does 40 damage, which knocks out Simeon's Houndour Pokemon. Because I've knocked it out, the last thing I do is take a prize card. Pokemon games are this kind of exchange. Maneuvering Pokemon from your active slot and the bench, attacking in order to knock out your opponent's Pokemon, and taking prize cards. Whoever gets their 6 prize cards first is the winner. We've only scratched the surface of gameplay here. We will be recording videos in the future that get more into the mechanics, the strategy, and some of the specific cards that you would use to improve your deck.
I'm sorry to say, but he is dead.
Okay. So take your last prize card and knock him out.
And I win, guys.